The Maniots and Maniots are the inhabitants of the Mani Peninsula, Laconia, in the southern Peloponnese, Greece. They were also formerly known as Mainotes and the peninsula as Maina. Maniots are described as descendants of the ancient Dorian population of the Peloponnese and as such related to the ancient Spartans. The terrain is mountainous and inaccessible, and the regional name, Mani, is thought to have meant originally dry or barren. The name Maniot is a derivative meaning of Mani. In the early modern period, Maniots had a reputation as fierce and proudly independent warriors, who practiced piracy and fierce blood feuds. For the most part, the Maniots lived in fortified villages where they defended the lands against the armies of William II Villehardouin and later against those of the Ottomans. Names. The surnames of the Maniots uniformly end in -eas in what is now the Messenian part of Mani, Arkosh or Akis in what is now the Laconian part of Mani, and the occasional ogonas. Last names ending in Akis are actually regarded as the oldest in Mani, but they were slowly substituted by names ending in Arkosh, which has led to the common misconception that the ending Akis is of Cretan origin. The ending Akis has Byzantine origin. Achaeos. Ancient Mani. Mycenaean Mani. Homer's catalogue of ships in the Iliad mentions the cities of Mani, Messi, Artylus, Cardamili, Gerenia, Teuthron, and Las. Under the Mycenaeans, Mani flourished and a temple dedicated to the Greek god Apollo was built at Cape Teneron. The temple was of such importance that it rivaled Delphi, which was then a temple dedicated to Poseidon. Eventually, the temple of Teneron was dedicated to Poseidon and the temple at Delphi was dedicated to Apollo. According to other legends, there is a cave near Tenaro that leads to Hades. Mani was also featured in other tales such as the one where Helen of Troy and Paris spent the first night together on the island of Crani, off the coast of They. During the 12th century BC, the Dorians invaded Laconia. The Dorians settled originally at Sparta, but they soon started to expand the territory, and by around 800 BC they had occupied Mani and the rest of Laconia. Mani was given the social caste of Perioeci. During that time, the Phoenicians came to Mani and were thought to have established a colony at Gython. The Phoenicians built the colony at Gython in order to collect murex, a seashell that was used to make purple dye and was plentiful in the Laconian Gulf. Classical Mani. While the Spartans ruled Mani, Teneron became an important gathering place for mercenaries. Gythium became a major port under the Spartans as it was only 27 kilometers away from Sparta. In 455 BC, during the First Peloponnesian War, it was besieged and captured by the Athenian admiral Ptolemaides along with 50 triremes and 4,000 hoplites. The city and the dockyards were rebuilt, and by the late Peloponnesian War, Gythium was the main building place for the new Spartan fleet. The Spartan leadership of the Peloponnese lasted until 371 BC, when the Thebans under Epaminondas defeated them at Leuctra. The Thebans began a campaign against Laconia and captured Gythium after a 3-day siege. The Thebans only briefly managed to hold Gythium, which was captured by 100 elite warriors posing as athletes. Hellenistic Mani. During the Hellenistic period of Greece, Mani remained controlled by the Spartans. The Macedonians under the command of Philip V of Macedon tried to invade Mani and Laconia and unsuccessfully besieged the cities of Gythium, Las and Assen. When Nabis took over the Spartan throne in 207 BC, he implemented some democratic reforms. One of these reforms entailed making Gythium into a major port and naval arsenal. In 195 BC, during the Roman-Spartan War, the Roman Republic and the Achaean League with assistance from a combined Pergamene and Rhodian force captured Gythium after a lengthy siege. The Allies went on to besiege besieged Sparta and tried to force Nabis to surrender. As part of the terms of the peace treaty, the coastal cities of Mani were forced to become autonomous. The cities formed the koinon of free Laconians, with Gythium as the capital under the Achaean League's protection. Nabis, not content with losing his land in Mani, built a fleet and strengthened his army and advanced upon Gythium in 192 BC. The Achaean League's army and navy under Philipmen tried to relieve the city, but the Achaean navy was defeated off Gythium and the army was forced to retreat to Tishaia. A Roman fleet under Attilius managed to recapture Gythium later that year. Nabis was murdered later that year and Sparta was made part of the Achaean League. However, the Spartans, while searching for a port, captured Las. The Achaeans responded by seizing Sparta and unsuccessfully forcing the laws on it. Roman Mani. The Maniotes lived in peace until 146 BC with the advent of the Battle of Corinth. The conflict resulted in the destruction of Corinth by the forces of Lucius Mummius Achaicus and the annexation of the Achaean League by the Roman Republic. Even though the Romans conquered the Peloponnese, the koinon was allowed to retain its independence. The Maniotes suffered from pirate raids by Cretans and Cilicians who plundered Mani and pillaged the temple of Poseidon. The Maniotes were delivered from the pirates when Pompey the Great defeated them, most probably in gratitude. The Maniotes supplied Pompey with archers in his battles against Julius Caesar during Caesar's civil war and were defeated. During the civil war between Antony and Octavian, the Maniotes and Laconians supplied Augustus with troops for his confrontation with Mark Antony and Cleopatra VII of Egypt at the Battle of Actium, and in gratitude they officially recognized Augustus as emperor and invited him at Samothrace, and the Maniot koinon stayed an independent state. This signified the beginning of the Golden Age of the koinon. Contrary to the rest of Greece, Mani flourished under the Romans, because of its respectful obedience to Rome. The koinon consisted of 24 cities, of which Gythium remained the most prominent. However, many parts of Mani remained under the also semi-independent Sparta, the most notable being Assen and Cardomile. Mani became a center for purple dye, which was popular in Rome, as well as being well known for its rose antique marble and porphyry. Las is recorded to have been a comfortable city with Roman baths and a gymnasium. Pausanias has left us a description of the town as it existed during the reign of Marcus Aurelius. The Agora, the Acropolis, the island of Crani, where Paris on his way to Troy celebrated his nuptials with beautiful Helen after taking her from Sparta, the Megonium, a precinct of Aphrodite Megonitis, and the hill Aricium rising above it. Nowadays, the most noteworthy remains of the theatre and the buildings partially submerged by the sea all belong to the Roman period. The koinon remained semi-independent until the provincial reforms of Roman Emperor Diocletian in 297. With the barbarian invasion affecting the Roman Empire, Mani became a haven for refugees. In 375, a massive earthquake in the area took its toll on Gythium, which was severely devastated. Medieval Mani. From Theodosius I to the Avar invasion on January 17, 395, Theodosius I, who had managed to unite the Roman Empire under his control, died. His eldest son, Arcadius, succeeded him in the Eastern Roman Empire, while his younger son, Honorius, received the Western Roman Empire. The Roman Empire had divided for the last time, and Mani became part of the Eastern Byzantine Empire. Between 395 and 397, Alaric and his Visigoths plundered the Peloponnese and destroyed what was left of Gythium. Alaric captured the most famous cities, Corinth, Argos, and Sparta. He was at last defeated by Stilicho and then crossed the Gulf of Corinth towards the north. In 468, Gaiseric of the Vandals attempted to conquer Mani with the purpose of using it as a base to raid and then conquer the Peloponnese. Gaiseric tried to land his fleet at Canopolis, but as his army disembarked, the inhabitants of the town attacked the Vandals and made them retreat after heavy casualties. Decades later, the famed Byzantine general Belisarius, on the way to his victorious campaign against the Vandals, stopped at Canopolis to get supplies, honored the Canopolitans for the victory, and recruit some soldiers. According to Greenhalgh and Heliopoulos, the Eurasian Avars attacked and occupied most of the western Peloponnese in 590. However, there is no archaeological evidence for a Slavic penetration of Imperial Byzantine territory before the end of the 6th century. Overall, traces of Slavic culture in Greece are very rare. During the Macedonian dynasty there is a description of Mani and its inhabitants in Constantine VII's De Administrando Imperio. The area inhabited by the Maniotes was first called by the name Maina, and was associated with the castle of Tigani. The Maniotes at the time were called Hellenes, that is, pagans, and were only Christianized fully in the 9th century AD, though some church ruins from the 4th century AD indicate that Christianity was practiced by some Maniotes in the region at an earlier time. The Maniotes were the last inhabitants of Greece to openly follow the pagan Hellenic religion. This can be explained by the mountainous nature of Mani's terrain, which enabled them to escape the attempts of the Eastern Roman Empire to Christianize Greece by force. Romioi, or Romioi, is the name by which the Greeks were known in the Middle Ages and during Ottoman rule. The name originally signified the inhabitants of the city of Rome, but with the increasing grants of Roman citizenship to the Greeks and other nations of the Roman Empire, it soon lost its connection with the Latins. The Greeks transmogrified the newly acquired political title Romans and began to refer to themselves solely as Romioi. The new term was created in order to establish a dualistic identity that represented the Greeks' Roman citizenship, as well as the Hellenic ancestry, culture, and language. Under the Principality of Achaia during the Fourth Crusade, the Crusaders captured Constantinople. The Eastern Roman Empire was partitioned between several Greek and Latin successor states, notably including the Despotate of Epirus, the Latin Empire, the Empire of Nicaea, and the Empire of Trebizond. These four empires produced rival emperors, struggling for control over each other and the rest of the semi-independent states emerging in the area. William of Champlitte and Geoffrey I Villehardouin defeated the Peloponnesian Greeks at the Battle of the Olive Grove of Kountouros, and the Peloponnese became the Principality of Achaia. In 1210, Mani was given to Baron Jean de Neuilly as hereditary marshal, and he built the castle of Passavas on the ruins of Las. The castle occupied a significant position, as it controlled an important pass from Gythium to Oitilo and contained the Maniots. The Maniots, however, were not easily contained, and they were not the only threat to the Frankish occupation of the Peloponnese. The Melengi, a Slavic tribe in the Taygetus mountain range, raided Laconia from the west, and the Zarconians also resisted the Franks. In 1249, the new prince, William II of Villehardouin, acted against the raiders. He used the newly captured fortress of Monemvasia to keep the Zarcones at bay, and he built the castle at Mistras in the Taygetus mountains overlooking Sparta in order to contain the Melengi. To stop the Maniot raids, he built the castle of Megalomani, which is most probably Tigani. It is described as at a fearful cliff with the headland above. A Latin bishop was appointed for Mani during the 1250s. In 1259, the bishop was captured during the Battle of Pelagonia by the renewed Byzantine Empire under the leadership of Nicaea, under the Despotate of Morea on July 25, 1261. The Byzantines under Michael VIII Palaiologos recaptured Constantinople. Prince William was set free, on the condition that he had to surrender the fortresses of Megalomania, Ministries, Geronthray and Monemvasia, as well as surrender hostages including Lady Margaret, Baroness of Passavas. With the Franks gone from Laconia, the Maniotes lived in peace under the Despotate of Morea, whose successive despots governed the province. Mani seems to have been dominated by the Nikiani family, who were refugees. However, the peace was terminated when the Ottoman Turks started their attacks on the Peloponnese.